Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I, 20 female, was grooming my horse client yesterday when a woman came up to me, tugging along a kid around 6 or 7. For context, stable hands/trainers don't need to wear specific clothes, although they usually wear the stable shirts to be more recognizable towards new people. I was wearing some tan breeches and a ripped polo, nothing really special, but I tended to get confused as staff pretty often, which I understand. The Karen was wearing way too expensive looking clothes to be at a barn, but I assumed she was just going to drop off the kids and come back at the end of the lesson. As I saw her direct her attention towards me, I prepared my whole speech about how I didn't work there and where I could direct you to go. Before I could even get a word out, she launched into a tirade about how terrible the service was and how she had spent hours trying to find someone to help her. I doubt it was more than 5 minutes. The staple wasn't that big. "Oh, I don't work," I began, being cut off by her screaming in my face to let her kid ride my horse. I tried to calmly explain that no, her kid couldn't ride my horse, and no, she cannot let her ride any other horses in the barn. But no matter what I said, I couldn't convince her that I didn't work there, and that I couldn't just let her daughter ride. Clyde is not fully trained, as I recently got him, as still very young and inexperienced. I wouldn't even let a kid groom him as he tends to nip at people. The kid proceeded to try to duck past me and tried to bit his nose. I grabbed the kid's shoulder and gently pushed her back, genuinely worried about Clyde biting her. Karen gasped and screamed, "My daughter has every right to touch that horse. She's probably even better with horses than you are. Besides, you are just a worker. So don't you dare push my kid that way." That made me blow my gasket. "Your daughter is not going to touch my horse. He is not suitable with kids and could injure your daughter. Your daughter does not know more than me. I've been riding for 15 years, and I don't work here. Leave me alone." I shouted, wanting to punch that Karen straight in the face. At this point, my horse was starting to freak out, and I turned to lead him back to his stall and just calm him and myself. Some staff came running over trying to assess what was happening. The woman kept screaming at me, but I just couldn't deal with her anymore, and I walked away since the staff had her occupied. My friend who worked there told me that they had to threaten to call the cops to get her to leave, because she kept demanding to have her kid ride every single horse she saw. She is also banned from the stable now, so a happy ending at least. I remember the first day I met Max. He was new to our school and I was assigned to show him around. I thought he was nice at first, but I quickly realized that he was a bully. He would constantly harass me and spread rumors about me, and even physically intimidate me. I tried to ignore him, but it only seemed to make things worse. I complained to the school administration, but nothing was done about it. One day during lunch break, I was sitting alone in a courtyard when Max approached me. He had this smirk on his face like he was up to something. "Hey Sarah, you're all alone. How about you and I have some fun, huh?" I tried to ignore him and go back to my book, but he grabbed it and threw it away. He then started to push me and laugh at me. "Stop it, Max, leave me alone." I was so scared and frustrated that I decided to fight back. I remembered all the self-defense lessons my father taught me, and I punched him in the face. Max fell to the ground, dazed and shocked. As he lay there on the ground, I stood over him and told him who my father was. My father is a war veteran, and he had taught me how to defend myself. I also told him that I had reported his behavior to my father, who was on the way to the school. Max was terrified. He had never felt that way before. He begged me not to tell my father, but I was done listening to him. "Please, Sarah, don't tell your dad. I'm so sorry. I'll never bully you again, I swear." Well, it's too late for that, Max. My father is on his way here, and you will have to face the consequences of your actions. When my father arrived, he met with the school principal and Max's parents. The school expelled Max for his actions, and his parents were forced to take responsibility for their son's behavior. My father also made sure that Max faced legal consequences for his actions, as it wasn't the first time he attacked me or other students. It was a relief to know that Max would never be able to bully me or anyone else again, but the experience left me feeling bitter and resentful towards him. It took me a long time to forgive him for what he did to me, but eventually, I did. Life is too short to hold grudges and keep dragging them at the top of your shoulders for the rest of your life. Some time ago, I had a job as a runner for a bad horror movie company. Part of my job as a runner was to go to the bank to make various deposits and withdrawals for both the company and the boss. I went to the bank almost every day, sometimes multiple times a day. The bank was in a really upscale neighborhood, so it was not uncommon to see some really high-end cars in a nearby lot where I parked. The lot was not free if you were just parking to walk the area, but you could get validation if you went to certain specific businesses, like the bank a few buildings away. At this point, I had been at my job for about 3.5 years, which meant I had been to this lot easily about 1,000 times. I knew a lot of the workers in the area by name, including the lot workers. We talked a lot, and oftentimes, I could get away with not getting validation, even on days I wasn't working. I was in my mid-20s and was often in shorts, flip-flops, and a merchandise shirt for my company. We didn't have uniforms, so they just gave me a ton of shirts from their movies. So I would have some kind of identifier while I was out working. Now, I should mention that I'm Hispanic with pretty dark skin. I normally wouldn't even bother mentioning that because who cares? And you know who cares? Rich, entitled people. I've seen my fair share of veiled racism and typecasting over the years. Hell, even at that lot, I've been asked multiple times to park people's cars. They usually apologize and look embarrassed when I point out the guys in the polo shirts and the vest with the name of the lot on them. So I usually just roll my eyes and go about my day. Occasionally, I'll get someone rude that will snap their fingers at me, which I extremely hate, or chunk their keys at me. I'm usually a little more of a jerk, but nothing major. On this day, I was in a fairly poor mood. My company was starting to do some shady stuff and was screwing over employees. A lot of people hadn't been paid in weeks, so I was on half checks. The only reason I got any money was because the main meat of my job had me driving anywhere from 4 to 12 hours a day, and I cannot do that without gas, which they reimbursed me for on top of my paycheck. So on my way to the bank, I bought a strawberry smoothie for lunch, as I knew there was no chance I was going to make it back to the office to eat the food I brought. I pull into the non-valet parking in the lot, chat with the attendant while I grab my ticket, and start walking towards the bank. I hear someone shouting, "Jose! Hey, Jose!" But obviously I ignored it, as my name is not Jose. I walk past the lady shouting when I feel something smack me in the back of my head, dropping my glasses. I pick up my glasses and turn around and see this red-in-the-face lady glaring angrily at me. I was super pissed. I looked down to see what hit me, and of course, it was her car and house keys. This witch literally threw her keys at a stranger's head. She was driving some really nice Escalade that looked like it was probably fully loaded and detailed regularly. I pick up her keys and shout, "What the heck, lady?" And she shouts back, "Didn't you hear me calling you, you peener? It's your own fault for ignoring me. I'm late for my hair appointment. Park my damn car." I was absolutely dumbfounded. I tried to explain to her that I didn't work there, but she was not having it. Every time I opened my mouth, she called me something even more demeaning and racist, questioning my intelligence and threatening to get me fired. She started walking away, so I decided, screw it. I hurried up, walked to the restaurant next door and shouted, "Hey witch." She turned around, steaming at her ears. I said, as calmly as I could manage, "I don't work there." Then I dropped her keys in my half-full smoothie and chucked it as hard as I could into the restaurant's dumpster. The look on her face when the cop exploded in pink chunks as her keys dropped into a stanky dumpster was absolutely the freaking best. I walked away as she turned and ran back to the attendants. After I did all my bank business, I went back to the lot and saw her shouting at the lot security and pointing at me. The security guard, who of course I knew, asked me what happened. I told him she threw her keys at me, started shouting obscenities, and refused to take them back when I tried to explain that I didn't work there, and also that I threw them in my smoothie and chucked them in the trash next door. He was holding back his laughter when I finished. She tried to get him to call the cops on me, but he explained to her that she willingly gave me her keys and refused to take them back, telling her that she should have taken that extra second to listen to what I was trying to tell her. She then demanded that one of the workers go into the dumpster and fish the keys out. But he just pointed at a sign that said that the lot takes no responsibility for lost or stolen property. He then informed her that her Escalade was blocking traffic into the lot and that if she didn't move it in 15 minutes, he would call a tow truck to move it. She did not like that, and she let him know she didn't through racist ranting and grandstanding. He stood there quietly the whole time and took it. When she was finally finished, he looked down at his watch and told her, "You have 7 minutes, ma'am." Wouldn't you know it, she angrily trudged off towards the dumpster. We had a good laugh about it, but he told me not to do it again. As I pulled down the lot, I got a nice view of her in a dumpster, furiously throwing everything everywhere. I honked and waved as I passed, and went about my day with a big smile on my face. The next day, one of the lot guys told me that they ended up having to tow her Escalade. I guess she couldn't find her keys. Oh well, I hope the hairdresser didn't mind her smelling like garbage. I am not sure about the legality of this all, or if I would have been in actual trouble if the police had been called. She just caught me on a bad day. I don't feel the least bit sorry about what I did though. I guess the moral of the story is do not be a racist trash. And also, do not just give your keys to anyone like an idiot. Edit. Here are some responses to some of the questions and comments I saw. I considered doing something to her car, but I was in a really nice Beverly Hills type neighborhood. I figured the cops in the area wouldn't be understanding at all. Plus, she seemed like the team of lawyers type of spiteful person. I'm so happy I just got a sucker punch to the back of the head. Instead of some of the horror stories I read about how badly a hit with keys could have gone. She was not standing very far when she hit me, probably about a good 5 to 10 feet. I didn't call the cops mostly because I didn't think about it and I was pretty satisfied with the outcome. I was also on the clock, plus I've been pulled over in that area more than once. Never for doing anything wrong, but because I fit a profile and it all seemed like a hassle. And seeing her throwing trash around was more than enough to forget about the pain in the back of my head. Also, thank you for listening. You guys are awesome. First-time poster, long-time lurker as well. Thought I'd enlighten you wonderful people. It's a long build-up, so please bear with me. So, when I was in high school, a friend, my crush, and I got really into laser tag. Inspired from the hit TV show How I Met Your Mother, we wanted to be the Barney and Robin of the local laser tag place. One time when we were there, I had the weirdest I don't work here lady experience. So I was running around kicking laser butt. Nah, I actually suck so bad at laser tag. This kid was getting on everyone's nerves. He'd chase right behind you and keep shooting you until he got bored and moved on to his next target. Note, with this place you wore a vest with sensors, and when you get shot all the lights would flash red and your plaster wouldn't work for like 5 seconds or so. So this kid would just trigger finger you. I swear that's not weird. Gamers, please understand. I never let you shoot back because the moment your vest turned on again, he'd shoot you again. The staff couldn't do much about it, so that also sucked. But basically after a bit I got annoyed and when he stepped around the corner, I got in front of him, so he was trapped. He kept telling me to move, but since he was being a brat, I said no. After about 5 minutes he decided he was over it, and he tried to punch me. Even though I was like 5 or 8 years older than him, any violence stresses me out, so I just put my hands out to stop him. But when I did, his fist hit my hand, and it kinda looked like I got his punch. According to my laser partner, he got scared and I let him go, and we finished the game. When everyone walked out, a lady approached me and looked angry. She started accusing me of hitting her kid and whatnot and said I was going to get fired. That was odd, but I got where she could have thought I worked there cause the workers wore red staff shirts and I had a red shirt from a swim meet I participated in. Anyways, she then got the actual staff to bring a manager around and started demanding I get sent home and fired. To which the manager responded, "Well, I was actually watching the cameras that view the arena, and your son was the one who threw the only punch." And so she turned to her son and asked him, and when he gave a weird non-answer, she took him and left pretty quickly. Thankfully, nothing too bad happened and the staff let us play another game for free. I still lost. Call of Duty is way easier than the Warscape, that is laser tag. To start, this isn't my story, but instead is my partner, so I will be telling it with the knowledge she has provided. Now, the story itself starts about 3 days ago on a warm Wednesday morning. My partner, Huron called Bug, was on a ride home after a trip and we talked about her job and her plans to leave the following 2 weeks if she got the job she was interviewing for the following day. Bug's job is at a local bar, here referred to as LP, where she worked as a host. LP is a relatively small business and has a very small staff count, just a few shy of the number of groups that are seated a day, making work relatively slow. Pug had worked at LP a year prior and knows most staff as well as some management. Pug only recently started working at LP again to get back into the workforce but had taken a vacation out of state for 10 days. During Bug's trip, she had applied to 3 different places and had been invited to an interview for 2 of them. Bug planned to take both jobs and leave LP due to the bad practices, refusal of tips earned, and many other smaller issues regardless of her love for LP as a business. Thursday rolled on by and Bug had received both jobs with plans to leave LP that day. Bug shot a text to the host, Huron called Cool Host, thanking her for picking up her shift that morning and to let her know she was thinking of quitting that evening as to the place in her week. Both Bug and I know it's a bad practice as well as a great way of burning bridges to quit without 2 weeks notice, but there weren't many options here as she was making just enough in gas with the wages earned each week leaving her nothing to survive off. Unbeknownst to the Cool Host, the bartender had been looking over her shoulder and reading her text between her and Bug. The bartender then went to the manager of that shift, we will call him Confused GM, and told her that Bug planned to quit. Minutes later, the Cool Host calls Bug explaining the situation and apologizes before recommending she come in and gather her check before Loud Manager comes in and hears she is leaving. Bug then told me the situation. We discussed our thoughts on the matter and what she should do and came to the conclusion that she should go now and tell Confused GM she was quitting to avoid any more complications in the future as well to mitigate any chances of damaging her standing with her new jobs. Pug drove to LP within 15 minutes and talked to Cool Host at the front asking for the Confused GM. While Cool Host was off looking for Confused GM, Bug gave bartender a light punch to the shoulder before asking why he told the Confused GM about her text to the Cool Host. And the bartender simply claimed he didn't think it would have been an issue and saw no harm in doing so. Once Cool Host returned, Bug received her check from the Confused GM, who then told her to list herself as not available next week. Bug thought for a moment and told the Confused GM again that she had quit and was not coming back. The Confused GM then told Bug that if she couldn't find someone to fill her shift the following day, then Bug would need to come in. Bug was unsure of what to say and then restated once more that she had quit before heading home. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.